Yeah, so let's get to the speaker's fight here. I know from the talks I've had with different members of your colleagues that the real concerns behind the scenes, there are a couple of them who are like, well, we can't let Matt Gaetz win, but most of them are, can he raise the money? Is he going to be our guy or is he going to be Trump's guy? And it sounds like he's worked the phones for 72 hours now, and you've got Mike Rogers suddenly on board who said he would never vote for him. Ann Wagner is suddenly on board. She said she'd never vote for him. It looks like he's closing the deal down to like the last half dozen or so members of the Republican conference.
That's about where it seems like, Eric. I don't have an exact head count, but my gut tells me we're somewhere south of 10 who are still being recalcitrant. And look, I'm not going to cast aspersions to any of my colleagues who aren't there yet. Some of them are still smarting from their own friendship with Kevin, or they don't like what the 8 did to vacate. And so we're working through that. Look, at some point here, whether you like it or not, you got to figure out a way to have 221 who can unite to beat the Democrats. And I think Jim is uniquely situated to do that. We've been at war with the establishment for over a decade. It has taken a while to get where we need to go. And you and I agree on a lot of this. I mean, go back to 10 years ago right now, we were just winding up the Obamacare shutdown fight when I was Ted Cruz's chief of staff. We were doing that with a rump group in a basement in a townhouse under the bottom of Tortilla Coast on Capitol Hill. We were having to fight, all over through the trenches of online media, and full well from your time at Red State. And then that ultimately resulted in the founding of the Freedom Caucus. And then ultimately, Donald Trump came in here into D.C. to blow up the swamp or drain the swamp, and did a lot of that, and then did a lot of stuff that didn't do that. And so now here we sit, and we have a lot of people in the Freedom Caucus, a lot of conservatives who have come in and set it up. We're going to change it. And now we have the chance to put a real conservative that the grassroots will trust and believe in in the chair of the speaker, and to be able to work across the entire Republican conference to get things done. Now, a little warning shot here. If we're successful, it would be an enormous, enormous victory. But we will all have to have a little grace to figure out how to give Jim some rope to lead.
Right.
And that means we're going to have to figure out how to do that through a CR fight, through Israel, through Ukraine, through the border, and figure out how to win this fight over the next year so we can build a majority and beat Biden and the Democrats.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad you said that, because this is something within the conservative movement I think we have to grapple with, that we get someone in leadership, and you do have moderate Republicans in swing districts who can't necessarily vote the way you or I may prefer them to. They fear losing their election if they do. And if we get somebody who we know his heart is right and his worldview is right, we're going to have to give him a little grace to be able to figure out a path forward that keeps us united within the Republican Party as well. And I don't know that that's an easy task, but I think it's one that Jordan probably can do better than most.
Well, and I think that's the most important part, right? Like, if anybody can do it, Jim can do it. And we're going to have to work together. I mean, the first step is to work really hard over the next 24 hours to make very clear that Jim is the right guy at the right time to bring us together to beat Biden. Again, let's be very clear. What we're seeing unfold in terms of inflation and energy costs, Biden and the Democrats. What we're seeing unfold in terms of open borders and worrying about terrorists or watching fentanyl kill our kids or little girls getting sold into sex trafficking trade, Joe Biden and the Democrats. What we're seeing unfold in Israel, because we weren't doing enough to shape what was going on in the Middle East and our own policies of appeasement with Iran, Joe Biden and the Democrats. If we want to end these things, if we want to get our country back, then we've got to have conservatives win, and we've got to have conservatives making decisions. We've been working hard for this moment. Let's unite right now, and let's get in behind Jim. You know, remember the famous Bush push with Matt Leinart in USC game, against USC Notre Dame like 15 years ago. Let's get in behind Jim and let's push. And look, we're going to hold him accountable. I want people to hold me accountable. We've got to, but here's the thing. This is the American people against the swamp. We're tired of the swamp winning. It's time for the American people to win. There is no perfect politician. There is no perfect policy. What there is are people willing to stand up and fight. I get called a rhino because I didn't agree with the motion to vacate play. I don't give a damn. Call me a rhino. Doesn't matter. I was doing what I thought was right. I get called crazy because I was part of the 20. I don't give a damn. I was doing what I thought was right. We've got to work together now to try to advance conservatism as a team so that we can get our country back, Eric.
Amen. Look, people have this mythology built up. I mean, frankly, you go back to 1994 with Newt. Towards the end of his tenure there, it was the moderate Republicans who were trying to prop up his speakership. It was the conservatives who wanted a replacement. You had the moderate Scottus Boehner, the moderate Scottus Hastert, the moderate Scottus Paul Ryan, the moderate Scottus Kevin McCarthy. This is really like the first time where conservatives have been able to lead a real conservative, a House Freedom Caucus founder, no less, to the speaker's chair. If we can pull that off, I think that's a really big deal.
It's an enormous deal. And, again, I think people got to remember the context here of what's going on. We have the opportunity to put, as you put it, a Freedom Caucus founder, solid conservative, with a really strong voting record in the speaker's chair. Now, that, as I said before, that comes with some questions, right? I don't really relish a CR that funds the Department of Homeland Security that is refusing to secure the border. But I got to sit down with a hopefully future Speaker Jim Jordan and say, okay, what's your strategy, right? If he takes the chair, he'll take it tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday. We got to build up a strategy in order to succeed. I was willing to give Kevin grace and gave him a lot of grace in the spring trying to figure out how to get sorted out. And guess what? We got conservatives on the Appropriations Committee, conservatives on the Rules Committee, conservatives on a lot of good stuff done. We now need to finish it. The swamp kind of bit back in the debt deal, and we need to get back on track, and I think Jim's the right guy to do that so we can thwart the Biden agenda.
I hope so. Hey, look, before you get out of here, I want to ask you one more question. I know you like DeSantis for 2024. Remarkable that he, not Joe Biden or anyone else, was able to get 300 Americans on a plane out of Israel, no cost to them. And meanwhile, the president of the United States is telling people they got to reimburse the government if the government gets them out of Israel. Kind of a remarkable contrast there.
Look, I support Ron DeSantis unequivocally, unapologetically. He is a good man. Here's the most important part. He is a leader who gets things done. He doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't think twice. He points. He shoots in the direction that needs to be shot. And he is an exceptional executive in Florida. We saw that unfold during the hurricanes. You see what he does when he takes command and control. And that's precisely what we need, someone who can serve for 8 years. And we need someone, by the way, who can win a mandate, who can win overwhelmingly. We don't need to be counting votes in Maricopa County. We don't need to be counting votes in Fulton County. We don't need to be counting votes in Dade. Like, we need to know that we're going to win. We need to be winning, like, as Ron DeSantis did, by 1.5 million votes in Florida. He is a strong conservative and a strong leader. And, man, can you imagine the United States returning back to where we need to be with him at the helm, doing what he's been doing in Florida and what you just described, him doing there in getting people out of Israel? Man, that would be such a great thing for our kids and grandkids.